So here's a question. What's the cheapest new SUV you can buy in the UK? SUVs are currently all the rage, so surely one that combines the go-anywhere styling with the practicality of an SUV and a low price is onto a winner. Step in the Dacia Duster. The Duster is the Sandero hatchback's beefier cousin, and since the Sandero has picked up a plethora of What Car awards over the years, our hopes are high for this second generation Duster. And it needs to be good because although it costs a great deal less to buy than rivals such as the Seat Ateca and Nissan Qashqai, buyers will be pitching it against these cars in their heads. So has Dacia done enough to compete with the big boys? In this review, we'll tell you what it's like to drive, how spacious it is, how easy it is to live with. And remember, if at the end you're interested in buying one, go to whatcar.com and go to our new car deals section where we can help save you thousands. First though, let's take it for a drive. Dacia takes a refreshingly simple approach to most things, and engine range is included in that. There's two to choose from, one petrol, which is a 1.6, and one diesel, which is a 1.5. The 1.6 petrol is not the most refined or potent petrol engine out there. However, when driving around town, it's got enough power and it's also fairly good on fuel. The only downside is that if you really want to get going, you have to really push it. And when you do, it still feels utterly gutless. So if you do a lot of motorway miles, it's probably not going to suit you. So if you do rack up those miles, the 1.5 diesel could be the one for you. It's a lot more powerful and it's still very efficient, but on the downside, it's more expensive to buy and it also sends a bit of a vibration through the cabin. In terms of gearboxes, there's no automatic available. The petrol comes with a 5-speed and the diesel gets a 6-speed box. Now, the Duster's guilty little secret is that it's actually based on the old Renault Clio, so ride comfort and the suspension can feel a little old-fashioned, and you particularly notice this on the motorway. If you go for a version with 4-wheel drive, then you get more sophisticated suspension, which improves comfort, but these models also cost more to buy. That said, 4x4 SUVs don't come any cheaper than this. Around town, the Duster's small wheels and large tyres help to iron out lumps and bumps in the road. It doesn't feel quite as composed on the faster country roads though. The Duster handles predictably well when it comes to everyday driving conditions. Its soft suspension does mean that there's a bit of lean in the corners and the steering can feel a bit stodgy. That's not a problem when driving around town, but come out onto these faster country roads and the Duster doesn't really want to change direction very quickly. The old Duster scored poorly when it came to refinement, and while there's still a fair bit of wind and road noise on offer in this latest version, it is an improvement. Both engines can be noisy if you work them hard too, and especially the petrol. If you're looking for the high-up driving position that traditional SUV drivers get, then you're in luck because you definitely get that with the Duster. It might be difficult to get a comfortable driving position though, because although the seat adjusts plenty and the steering wheel adjusts for reach and rake, unlike the previous generation, there is nowhere to rest your clutch foot. The seats are more comfortable too because there's more padding and bolstering than the previous generation. And if you like simplicity, you will love this dash because there's chunky rotary controls and the stereo buttons are very basic as well. Unfortunately, while it looks simple, the material choices on offer in here are the biggest betrayal of Dacia's budget origins. Putting it nicely, there's no getting away from the fact that the Duster has been built to a price, so don't expect the kind of plush, soft plastics you'll find on more expensive rivals. Obviously though, none of that will be an issue if you view your Duster as a utilitarian workhorse. You get a good view out the front of your Duster, but unfortunately, the upswept rear windows and thick pillars do hinder the rear view somewhat. And if you'd like parking aids, you need to go for the comfort trim because that gets you front and rear parking sensors and a reversing camera. Now, if you go for the entry-level access model, the interior does feel quite Spartan and you don't even get a radio for company. Step up to Essential trim though, and you get Bluetooth, a radio, USB sockets and auxiliary in. Step up again to Comfort trim though, and you get a 7-inch infotainment screen which is touchscreen and sat-nav built in, but it all does feel quite dated though in terms of its features and graphics. When it comes to the space in the front of the Duster, there's plenty of room unless you're well over 6 foot tall, in which case you may find there's not quite enough leg room because there's slightly less than compared to its rivals. Another annoying feature, or lack of, is that there is no height adjustment on the passenger seat. And if you go for the entry-level model, there's no height adjustment on the driver's seat either. And in terms of storage, it's pretty good actually, because we've got decent sized door bin that can fit this bottle of water. There's a cup holder here. This gear stick is very large and does get in the way somewhat, but at least you can find it easily when you need to change gear. There's some more storage here, and the glove box is average size, and we've got another little ledge there. Space in the rear seats is good because there's a decent amount of headroom and leg room, and depending on which type of car seats you have, you can fit 3 child seats across the back. And if you've got people in the back, then the middle seat passenger needs to put their feet on this central tunnel or straddle it, depending on what is most comfortable. And so to the boot, the Duster really impresses here because the space is immense compared with its rivals. And even if you go for the 4-wheel drive version, it only slightly eats into the boot space. There is plenty of room for a weekly shop or perhaps your family luggage for a holiday. And it's a really practical shape because it's wide and high, and the load lip is also very low. And if you'd like to create more room, you can fold down the rear seats. If you go for the entry-level Duster, you'll be getting an SUV for a staggeringly low price. Just as well then that Dacia offers a strict no haggling policy, so the price you see in the showroom is the price you'll pay. Even if you go for the plusher version, it still undercuts its rivals by quite a lot, and residual values are pretty good too. The diesels cost more to buy than the petrols, and if you go for 4-wheel drive, they also cost considerably more. Our advice is to avoid the headline grabbing access model and go instead for the essential trim, which adds air conditioning, split folding rear seats and stereo controls on the steering wheel. Higher up trims add more luxury but also cost more, so be wary of spending too much. Unfortunately, safety kit is where the Duster feels well off pace. You get 6 airbags, but there's no option to add automatic emergency braking, and you only get blind spot monitoring on top of the range prestige models. Overall then, the Duster doesn't feel like the most sophisticated car to drive, but its space, practicality and low price could be just enough to sway you. For plenty more on the Dacia Duster, including our full online review, head to whatcar.com. You'll also find full reviews of all of its rivals. And if you're interested in buying one, head to our new car deals section where we can help save you thousands. But before you do any of that, hit subscribe and never miss another video.